Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, I wanted to add one more to the list of potential enemies for the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong sequel. Now, this was brought up to me by channel subscriber Zakori. Interestingly enough, this is something that I didn't even really think about. And it was something that he mentioned, and I was curious. I'm not sure if anyone else has done a video on this. I don't want to pretend like I'm the first one to speak about it. I'm not. But it's not something that I heard about. And you know, I don't keep up with every Godzilla YouTuber or Kaiju YouTuber, so I'm sure this is not something that has gone unseen. But I want to bring it up because I thought it was an interesting point. Now, we talked about before the image in the Godzilla art book of what people thought was Space Godzilla. I'll pull the image up again so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And one thing that Zakari brought up to my attention was a scene that took place in Godzilla vs. Kong, where Kong pulls the axe out of what looks to be a pretty large creature. I'll pull that image up so you guys can get a fresh reminder if it's been a while since you've seen the movie. And then he also provided me with this image here that I'm going to pull up again, which shows a graphic of the three skulls in comparison. You see a Titanus Gojira skull, a Titanus Kong skull, and then the mega species. Now, what's interesting is he thinks there might be, and I thought this was a pretty good, interesting point that he brought up, that this skull that Kong pulled the axe out of could be linked to that image from the art book of the flying monster. And what I thought to myself was, well, you know, or what we discussed on the stream was the potential that that monster may still be a big enemy, and maybe it wasn't like a one-off species that Godzilla and Kong fought, and there might be another one submerged in the hollow earth. And I thought to myself, that is a very interesting theory. But I wanted to take it a little further. I didn't bring this up on the stream, and I didn't really even think about this until much later when I was thinking about this video, was what if it's what if it's some sort of evolved skull crawler? You know, now I know the skull doesn't necessarily match, but at the same time, we've seen that a lot of the creatures in the Hollow Earth, even the Godzilla species, go through some sort of evolution at some point or another. They, you know, if you even think about Kong, one of the things a lot of people say is, well, you know, why is Kong that big when his parents weren't that big? And that's a good point, but that could also be explained. And again, this is theory crafting, this is speculation. There's nothing in writing that says this, but what if this Kong, the Kong that we see now, this really large Kong, is just evolved and he's grown larger? You know, we've seen the Godzilla species go from something like Dagon to what Godzilla is. We've seen the skull crawlers grow in size. You know, I mean, look at the one that Mechagodzilla killed in Godzilla vs. Kong. That was a much larger skull crawler than what Kong fought in Skull Island, in the Kong Skull Island movie. So I think time, the radiation, evolution gives all these titans the ability to either change form, enhance form, evolve faster, whatever the case may be. And I thought to myself, you know, what if this is just an evolved skull crawler, or it's probably a new species? But that crossed my mind. You know, you think about monsters that might cross the path of both Godzilla and Kong, and when you think about the skull crawlers, they were described as something that just would overrun. I mean, they overran the Kong species. And then you think about the Muto, had the same effect on the Godzilla species. So, you know, we see that this large creature, I mean, if it did, I think one of two things we might see in the movie. A, and I think this is the more likely one, is when they look at the past of the Titans and when they look into the past of the Hollow Earth, then we may see this creature in a flashback fighting both Godzilla and Kong. And maybe that'll be the monster that they fight again. You know, it certainly seems like whatever big threat, and again, this all depends whether they want to focus in on the war between the Godzilla and their tribe versus the Iwi tribe and the Kong species, or if they want to go down the route of what we saw in the art book. Now, keep in mind, many times through all these movies, everybody's had the art book, and most of the time what's in the art book does not make it onto the screen. So while this flying creature has been obviously very interesting, and it's been very compelling to theorize around it, the chances of that showing up in the movie are probably fairly slim. And I only say that based on the history of what we normally get when we look at these books. However, I do think Zicori, much to his credit, brought up an interesting theory that I wanted to shine some light on, because yes, that skull was embedded on a creature with a much larger head than Godzilla and Kong. And when you look at that mural of the flying monster, you know, you could see that this monster was rather large. It was fighting both Godzilla and Kong. So, you know, there's a lot of mysteries, and you know, I know that a lot of time they do these stuff for Easter egg. They try to just establish a little bit lore, but I really do hope they go into some kind of detail with some of the things we've seen on screen, this one in particular. And I am hopeful that, you know, when you read that synopsis and it says, you know, the history, they're going to explore the history of the Hollow Earth and the Titans, and there's this one threat that's going to force Godzilla and Kong to come together. I do hope that they delve a little bit into some of the lore and the history. Now, again, we look back at some of the other theories and some of the other monsters I mentioned, those are always still a chance. But I do think that if we did not get any Toho monsters and we did get a new threat, I do believe that this potentially could be that monster. Again, with the caveat that when we look at the art book, it is extremely rare that what's in the art book ever makes it on screen, especially in the following movie. So we'll have to wait and see. But I did want to shed some light on it. I did want to give Zicori some points on that. And like I said, I'm not saying that he's the first to discover it. I'm not saying that I'm the first to talk about it. But I feel that it warrants enough to at least be mentioned, to be put on record, so to speak. So very, very interesting. I think that it's, you know, this is the stuff that gets me excited about the movie, is talking about these things and trying to definitely look at every possible angle, every possible Easter egg, or anything that we potentially missed. And yeah, a lot of times it doesn't really come to fruition, but there are a lot of times that we, have theory crafted in the past and it does come to fruition. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on, if nothing else, but we'll have to see. We have some time to kind of figure it out. So, but anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section on this potential theory. Was this something that crossed your mind? Did you completely forget about this creature that Kong pulled the axe out of, and did you even give it at least a thought as to being a monster that they both might have fought in the past, potentially being the monster that's on that mural that we've all seen that's from the art book? Just share your thoughts in general. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.